Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about some key features of competency-based medical education curriculum and how it differs from the traditional curriculum. Now we all know that in 2019, the erstwhile Medical Council of India rolled out the CBME curriculum and it was published in the Indian Gazette as GMAR 2019, that is Graduate Medical Education Regulations 2019. The previous gazette was in 1997, so it's a very welcome change after about 2 decades. Now the CBME curriculum, it is more outcome based, and in subsequent slides we'll see how does it differ from the traditional curriculum. So I'll be talking about CBME under these headings. First is what are the key features of the curricular components, what is the change in the structure and the duration of MBBS curriculum in India, then what are the key changes in the assessment in new CBME curriculum, and it will be with respect to the internal assessment, that is formative assessment, and the university or the summative assessment. So if we compare the GMER 1997 with that of 2000, we can see that the total duration of MBBS course in our country, in India, it has not changed. It is 66 months. However, the duration of different phases have changed. Now the new entry is the foundation course in GMER 2019. So the foundation course has been introduced. It is a 1 month long course which will be before starting of the phase 1 or the first MBBS. So the foundation course has been introduced to orient the medical learners to the MBBS program and to provide them with the requisite knowledge and communication, technical and the language skills also. Then if we see the phase first MBBS, now this first MBBS will now be called as phase 1, and the duration initially it was 12 months, now it has been increased to 13 months. Then second MBBS, uh, it is now called phase 2. So in traditional curriculum it was of 1.5 or 18 months of duration, but now it has been significantly reduced to 12 months. So this is again a major change. Then regarding third MBBS part 1, which will now be called phase 3 part 1, it was initially in traditional curriculum of 12 months duration, but now it has been increased to 13 months. And a key change here is that forensic medicine, the university assessment of forensic medicine will be done in third MBBS or phase 3 part 1. So initially it was in phase 2, but now it has been changed to phase 3. Though forensic medicine will be taught in phase 2 also, but the university examination will be held in phase 3 part 1. So this is again a key major change. Then another important inclusion in the new curriculum, it is the elective postings of 2 months duration. Now this electives posting has been introduced to provide the learners with the opportunity for diverse learning experiences so that they can do research, they can be involved in the community projects of their choice, and it develops or it inculcates the habit of self-directed experiential learning and lateral thinking. So with this objective, elective posting of 2 months duration has been introduced in the new curriculum, and it will be between phase 3 part 1 and phase 3 part 2. That is, after the completion of phase 3 part 1 there will be 2 months of elective posting, and then phase 3 part 2 will start. Then regarding phase 3 part 2, that is third MBBS part 2, it was in traditional curriculum of 12 months duration, now it has been increased to 13 months. Now as far as duration of internship is concerned, it is not changed, so it is 12 months in both. So we see that the overall duration of MBBS course in India has not changed. However, the key changes are: first is introduction of the foundation course, introduction of electives, and forensic examination, university examination will now be held in third phase part 1. And of course there are some minor changes in the duration of different phases. Now if we see the comparative structure, so the if we look at the attendance, so in traditional curriculum 75% attendance was compulsory for appearing in the university assessment. And this 75%, it included theory as well as practical, that is attendance in non-lecture teaching also. But now this has changed, like attendance will be 75% in theory and 80% in clinicals. So from 75 it has been increased to 80% in clinicals or practicals uh, to be eligible to appear in the university examination. So this is the change. Then distribution of the teaching hours. Now teaching hours, more or less they have been kept same in each subject, though there can be minor differences from one subject to another. But point to note here is that traditionally more emphasis was on didactic lectures, or mostly we were taking didactic lectures. But now in the GMAR 2019, that is CBME curriculum, there is more emphasis on small group teachings. So there will be more of the dope sessions, that is demonstrate, observe, assist, perform. There will be more of seminars, and in each subject dedicated hours have been assigned for self-directed learning. So this is again a very new concept of self-directed learning where dedicated hours have been assigned in each subject. Then regarding integration, so there was mention of integration in traditional curriculum also, but exactly the structure or the details were not defined. But now in GMAR 2019, it is said that integration should be done, but it should be less than 20%. Now the idea of integration is that the concepts in a topic, or for example in organ system, those are similar and overlapping or redundant, they are merged into a single teaching session in which the subject based demarcations are removed. So that is the idea of integration. Then if we look at the alignment, then again there was not much mention of alignment in traditional curriculum, but now it is said that alignment should be done to the extent possible, that is as far as possible the topic should be aligned. Now alignment implies that the teaching of the subject material that occurs under a particular organ system or a disease concept from the same phase in the same time frame. So that is again we can say that it is like temporal coordination. So that is again a new inclusion. Rather than a new inclusion, more emphasis is now put on the integration and alignment. Now we move on to the next part, that if we compare the internal assessment or the formative assessment between the traditional and the new curriculum. So regarding the number of internal assessment examination, there was no guideline of how many examinations should be held, and it was left to the institution or the university to decide. But now it is clearly mentioned that there shall be no less than 3 internal assessment examinations in each preclinical and paraclinical subject, and no less than 2 examinations in each clinical subject in a professional year. So to understand this, we take an example of pharmacology. So it is a paraclinical subject, and in 1 year there will be 3 internal assessments in pharmacology. So the third can be preliminary examination. So 2 internal assessment, 1 prelim. So total 3. And in from clinical, if we take an example of ENT, so in ENT there will be 2 internal assessment examinations as per these guidelines. So one can be internal assessment, other we can say it can be preliminary examination. Then weightage of the internal assessment marks. In the traditional curriculum, 20% of the total marks were the internal assessment marks. But now this percentage has been done with and fixed marks, that is 100 marks for theory and 100 marks for either practical or clinical uh, part they have been allotted. So in any subject, the internal assessment will be total 200 marks, out of which 100 marks will be for theory and 100 marks will be for practicals. Then contribution of internal assessment in scoring in university examination. So now this is an important point. So in traditional curriculum, these internal assessment marks, they contributed to the total university marks and in the ranking of the student. But now in CBME, the internal assessment marks will not contribute or will not add to the marks of the university examination, and they will only be shown separately in the grade card under a separate heading, but they will not contribute to the university marks, and neither they will contribute to the ranking of the student. So this point is important, and it is also important in the sense that when we plan for the preparing mark sheets of the university, So then we should keep this point in mind, that we do not include those marks with the university marks, but they will, the internal assessment marks, and they will be shown as a separate heading. Continuing with the internal assessment differences, now regarding the eligibility criteria to appear in the university assessment. In traditional curriculum, the student must have scored at least 35% marks out of total marks fixed for the internal assessment in order to be eligible to appear in the final university examination of that subject. But now this has been increased to 50% combined in theory and practical, and not less than 40% in each for eligibility of appearing for university examination. So we'll take an example of ENT. For in traditional curriculum, uh, if the internal assessment was of 20 marks in ENT, 10 for theory, 10 for practical, then to be able to appear in the university, the student must have secured 7 marks out of 20. But it can be of any combination. For example, 1 in theory and 6 in practical, or 2 in theory and 5 in practical, or 3 in theory or 4 in practical. But the total must have been 7 out of 20, that is 35%, to be to make him eligible to appear for the examination. But now this has changed. Now we know that there are 200 internal assessment marks. For example, in ENT, 100 in theory and 100 in practical. So a student must have secured at least 50% combined in theory and practical, and not less than 40% in each subject. So at least he should have scored more than 40 in theory as well as in practicals, and a total score of more than 100. So this is a change in the eligibility criteria of the internal assessments. Then contribution of logbook in internal assessment. In traditional curriculum, there was no mention of any contribution of logbook, but now up to 20% of the internal assessment marks in theory as well as in practical, they should be from the logbook assessment. And another important point is that logbook submission is eligibility criteria for the university assessment now. So in every subject, a logbook should be maintained. Now there are different schools of thought regarding the logbook. Some say that a single subject which is taught in different phases should have a single logbook. So that is called a subject-wise logbook, which should be maintained longitudinally. Another experts say that it is better to have a phase-wise logbook. So again, each has pros and cons, and it all depends upon the feasibility of the institute. But the important point is that logbook should be maintained. Then another new feature in CBME is the provision of remedial measures. So in traditional curriculum, there was nothing like this term remedial measures, but now there should be remedial measures which should be formulated by the university or the institute. Now remedial measures are for those students who are either not able to score the qualifying marks, that is qualifying internal assessment marks to be eligible to sit in the university examination, or have missed on some assessments due to any reason. For such students, the institute or the university should develop their own remedial measures to make that student eligible to appear in the university examination. So again, this is a new entry in CBME curriculum. Then regarding the end of posting clinical assessment, in traditional curriculum, it was very flexible. It depended on the university or the institute, but now it is the guidelines are that at the end of the posting, clinical assessment shall be conducted for each clinical posting in each professional year. Again, taking an example of ENT. So in ENT, if there are 2 clinical postings in phase 2, the total duration of clinical postings in ENT in phase 2 is 1 month. So if it is a single clinical posting of 1 month, then one clinical assessment or end of posting examination should be done. But if we divide that 1 month into 2 clinical postings of 15 days each, then at end of each clinical posting and end of posting examination should be done. So these are the guidelines in the CBME curriculum regarding the end of posting clinical assessment. Now moving on to the last part of this talk, that is how traditional curriculum differs from the the new curriculum differs from the traditional with respect to the university assessment. Now there was in traditional curriculum, the supplementary examination was to be held not later than 6 months. So within 6 months of the publication of the results, it was needed to conduct a supplementary examination. Now this 6 months duration has been reduced to 90 days, that is 3 months duration. So after the publication of the results, the supplementary examination should be held within 90 days. Now we can say that this is a very welcome step as far as from the students' point of view, so that their time is not wasted much, and they are included with the main batch at the earliest. Then regarding my Viva marks, again it is a very major change. In traditional curriculum, the Viva marks were included in the theory marks, but now in CBME, the Viva marks will be added in the practical marks. So again, this is a major change. Then regarding pass criteria, in university assessment, a candidate must obtain 50% in aggregate with a minimum of 50% in theory, which will include Viva, and minimum of 50% in clinicals and practicals. This was in traditional, but now it is mandatory 50% marks separately in theory and practicals or clinicals, including Viva. So again, we see that the only change here is that the Viva marks will be added to the practicals and not in the theory as was with traditional curriculum. Now regarding grace marks, in traditional curriculum, it is written that up to a maximum 5 marks can be awarded to a student at the discretion of the university, but the criteria here is that the student who has failed only in one subject but passed in all other subjects, then only these 5 marks may be allotted at university's discretion. But now the major change here is that maximum of 5 marks may be awarded at the discretion of the university to a learner for clearing the examination as a whole, but not for clearing a subject resulting in exemption. So what I understand is that if a student has failed maybe in 2 subjects, and he by giving 5 marks he can be passed in those subjects, so he can get those marks. But here it was in traditional curriculum, it was important that a student should have failed only in one subject. So again we can see that this is a welcome guideline for as from students point of view. Then regarding the structure of the university paper, theory paper, not much details were given in traditional curriculum. It was written that short answer question and objective types should be given, but now the structure is a bit more defined. It is written that multiple choice questions should be given, but they should not constitute more than 20%. Then there can be long answer questions, and these should be structured long answer questions. Then short answer question, and new entry is that at least one question should be asked from the ATCOM, that is attitude, ethics and communication. So even in theory paper, it is mandatory to have at least one question on ATCOM. So this is a change. Then regarding the number of the examiners, in traditional curriculum the guidelines were at least 4 examiners should be there for 100 students and not less than 50% externals, and one additional examiner for every additional 50 students. So for example, if a college is having admission capacity of 150 students per batch, then as per the traditional criteria there should be 5 examiners, out of which 3 should be external and 2 internals. But now this guideline is changed in CBME that there should be at least 4 for 100 students, not less than 50% externals, and 2 additional examiners, that is 1 external and 1 internal for every additional 50 students. So taking the same example of 150 students, the new guidelines say that there should be 6 examiners for 150 students, out of which 3 should be internals and 3 externals. So the number of examiners has now increased, and we can say that it's a logical step, because the marks have also increased. Marks in the sense that the theory marks and practical marks in many subjects have increased. So more time is required to assess each student, and hence the number of examiners has also been increased. So thank you very much. And to prepare these documents, to prepare this presentation, I took the help of the documents of GMAR 2019 as well as GMAR 1997, which are freely available at the National Medical Commission website. So thank you very much.